Travel and retelling the story, number one. It is a story about a couple who traveled to China last month. They hadn't traveled together for more than 2 years, and they were happy to get away from their routine, from their problems, even from their kids, and to leave New York and go abroad. It was hard for them to pick up a travel destination, but finally they agreed on China as the narrator's wife Jessica had Chinese roots. So her great grandma came to the US from China and got married there. So Jessica was interested in learning more about Chinese culture, and she had a couple of relatives in Shanghai, so they decided to pay them a visit. The guy wasn't so enthusiastic at first, but later he did some research on the internet, and he was interested in trying authentic Chinese cuisine and seeing giant pandas. So they planned their trip. They left their kids with their grandparents. They packed their bags and suitcases. They took medications, clothes, shoes, and whatsoever. Uh, they took a lot of stuff, and traveling light was never an option for them. Normally, they chose package tours, but that time they decided to travel on their own, so they booked hotels in Beijing and Shanghai, as they wanted to visit Chinese capital first, to walk around the city and then go to Shanghai. They applied for a multiple entry visa to China. They got travel insurance, and they finally got the visa, a long-term visa, Chinese visa, yeah, valid until 2028, as they were definitely going to come back later. So, on the day of their departure, they overslept, they woke up late, and they were in a hurry. They rushed to the airport. They were afraid of getting stuck in traffic jam, but it was okay. They got to the airport in time, but it turned out that all the flights were delayed due to severe storm, and they had to wait for a couple of hours in the cafe. And they were actually happy that they chose direct flight, as it would have been much more unpleasant if they had chosen um, another flight where they had to change planes, because they could just have missed their plane, the other plane. So after some time spent in a cafe, they checked in, and it turned out that they exceeded baggage allowance, and they had to pay for extra baggage as Jessica took a lot of stuff. After that, they waited for they got their boarding passes, and they waited for the boarding. Then they got in the plane. The flight took 13 hours, so Jessica was watching some comedy series on her laptop, and her husband was sleeping and then reading his Chinese phrasebook. When they arrived to China, they took a taxi. First, they considered an option like hiring a car, but then they decided that they would be too tired, and so that's why they agreed on taking a taxi. So they got to the hotel in Beijing, and there was a little misunderstanding, as the Chinese girl there on the reception, she spoke very little English, and the guy had to use his Chinese phrasebook to solve the situation, and it turned out that there was a mistake and they just misprinted their names. After that, everything was okay. They went sightseeing, even though they had a little bit of jet lag. They tried street food and they enjoyed the city. After that, they took a speed train to Shanghai. They met their relatives. The relatives showed them around. They turned out to be really, really nice, and they showed them some local villages. And they went to giant panda conservation center, and Jessica took a lot of videos for her blog, and they took a lot of photos. They enjoyed the trip very much.